Going into spring, Heavenly Delusion was something I felt showed promise and was optimistic for the heights it could reach. The anime proved to be beyond deserving of this, providing a well-paced story through mainly Kiriko as well as Maru, and their motivations fit nicely into the grander narrative. As the viewer watches, they come to realize why the show is named as such, and the finale compellingly brings everything together for the best ending to a show of the season. I had little interest in Oshi No Ko at the start of the season. Before now, I can't recall enjoying a show with idols, and I don't have interest in real life ones either. Fortunately, I gave it a chance, and from start to finish, it was one of my favorite anime of spring. Oshi No Ko put the reality of the entertainment industry on display, which was unpleasant to rationalize. Knowing people have to deal with these things made me empathetic to their situation. Even with how entertaining it was, the community massively overrated it. I'm not a fan of chaotic plots with loosely related events, and this all stems from plot and character promises that weren't well defined early on. In regards to Demon Slayer's third season, I feel like my back is against the wall with how massively popular it is. Criticizing it is like wading through an endless sea. I would say it's just me that's lost a lot of interest in this series, but a reoccurring consensus I saw among the community during its airing was that it wasn't at the same level as the previous adaptations. I guess everyone just forgot about that with the finale, huh? Demon Slayer isn't a bad or even an average anime, it's just never lived up to the hype for me. Out of the 4 anime I named in the intro, there's one left we haven't discussed. This can only mean one thing. Hell's Paradise was the best anime of the season. It was like watching the mangaka write a love story to Zen and Bushido. One of the easiest ways to sell myself on a show I know nothing about is by having a historical or mythological perspective. That way I'm entertained as I learn new things about a culture. Hell's Paradise had amazing fights and beautiful and grotesque visuals that helped convey a sense of duality to this mysterious island. While I really liked Gabimaru, he's a white-haired ninja after all, so what's not to love, the main character that really impressed me was Sagiri. It's no secret that Shonen's track record for female leads isn't exactly the best, but here Sagiri is an outlier, actively participating in the story. As someone that appreciates Zen, many of the moments reminded me of the parables used for the art of swordsmanship, the samurai's code of honor and conduct, and lastly the mysteries and apparent paradoxes of Zen. Now that we've covered the best spring had to offer, let's move to the anime that was enjoyable. My love story with Yamada-kun at level 999 is an anime for winding down with, and the best thing is, it's the first solid gamer romance anime. What we've had before now was wish fulfillment anime like Real Girl and Recovery of an MMO Junkie, and these just made you realize this type of show hadn't delivered the true experience we needed. Slowly seeing Yamada and Akane build a relationship with one another is heartwarming. The guild being supportive friends that become just as important to Akane as Momo is a testament to how strong the bonds built in the gaming world can be in the real one. Mixing the gaming world with the real one made for a believable story that wasn't half-hearted. The one knock against this anime is that an intimate relationship or a clique inside a guild almost always causes people to leave, as I've seen firsthand. Skip to Loafer was a wholesome watch from beginning to end. Sosuke and Mitsumi's dynamic takes the spotlight, and they do a great job showing why they're drawn to one another, giving a sense of realism to the plot. It wasn't only the main characters that felt fleshed out. Even some of the characters that showed up every once in a while had their own personalities, which created a much more vibrant story. The thing that always draws me to these shows is seeing how hard the characters are trying in school. I never related to this while in school, so it's an interesting perspective to get. While the anime sometimes alludes to feelings outside of just friendship for Mitsumi and Sosuke, it's disingenuous to interpret that as a romance. Skip to Loafer is about finding one's ambitions and striving, even when it gets confusing or difficult. I've watched a few Mobile Suit Gundam series over the years, and the consistent bar of quality there's been has always made me a fan of the franchise. With Mobile Suit Gundam The Witch from Mercury, I couldn't place why I never felt it rose to that same level. Was it the narrow lens that approached the story being almost exclusively at a prestigious school and then limiting that to tactical sectors? Maybe it was how slowly the pieces on the board move, like the factions of the Bennett group. Or was it Suletta who is supposed to be the protagonist but failed to push the story forward, seeing as she's the namesake of the anime? It was all of these things to me, and yet with all these grievances I had a change of heart with episode 19. The true culprit that hurts The Witch from Mercury's second season's ability to stand amongst the other Gundam series is the modern 12-episode seasonal format. If they were just called Part 1 and Part 2, I'd have been much more lenient and not expected the seasons to wrap up storylines. And the way Crunchyroll displays the show, someone agrees. While I may have enjoyed the second season, when I consider the totality of the 24 episodes, The Witch from Mercury was the weakest Gundam storyline I've seen thus far. It doesn't appear that there will be a continuation, so the steps in the right direction that restored my interest feel wasted. The sentiment the community has for this anime being in contention for the best anime of the season is something I do not share. Spring was the worst season of Isekai and fantasy in a while. Even if many of the worst anime from last season were this genre or subgenre, the top ones cleared these. Dead Mount Deathplay was a decent show that struggled to have a convincing story. Many of the events feeling forced without any natural progression of additional storylines, and the corpse god's involvement did little to nothing helping his goal of peace. Out of all the similar shows, this one stood out as the most redeemable. With the second season planned for fall 2023, there's enough of a reason to come back to this anime, if only a small amount. I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World could have been a lot more than the sum of its parts if they just doubled down on the Isekai world or the real one, but dividing time between the two was unsatisfying and made it too difficult to fully immerse yourself in the anime. In regards to the animation, I've definitely seen worse. Kamikatsu was an interesting premise with a terrible execution. Sometimes it would surprise you and you'd think maybe this show can be good if it starts doing the right things, and then you'd be disappointed every time. And the monsters. With how horrible the monsters looked, you'd think Berserk was well animated. The last mentionable is the legendary hero is dead. It's a cool idea having the OP hero die and a powerless nobody forced to fulfill the role pushing back the demons. But then you watch episode to episode and ask yourself, is this it? There isn't anything impressive about the anime, and story-wise it's almost non-existent. Another mid-anime you'll forget everything about. And with that segue, let's talk about the things that were the most disappointing from the season. This is what I deserve for expecting something good off of someone else's opinion. I listened to many podcasts where Nux and Briggs hyped up Mashle, and after watching the anime I'm going to say it. Mashle is mid. It's just a knockoff muscle magic Harry Potter anime that was rarely funny. For the most part, the jokes just landed flat. Mashle lacked characters that felt like they had anything at stake in the story. Mashle wasn't interested in the things going on around him unless they had to do with cream puffs. In truth, it's my fault for having high expectations. If I'd taken a look at the themes of Mashle, I'd have realized this wasn't for me. Gag humor and school are two of my least favorite things. When I reflect on My Home Hero, I'm hit with a wave of disappointment because I wanted it to succeed so much. Tetsuo grappling with the immorality of taking someone's life, being pulled further into the depths of the criminal underworld, and how his family might react to the truth. These were all interesting questions that I thought might be explored, and I was let down every step of the way. The ease in which Kasan becomes a willing participant in her husband's murder is wild to me. She doesn't second guess and says, "I can't believe you killed someone." No, she validates it and is the one that sets in motion the murder cover-up. We don't get to see Tetsuo struggling mentally with the murder. Instead, it's just about getting away with it. Any suspense My Home Hero might have had is destroyed by the husband and wife somehow becoming the ultimate special agents through Tetsuo being an author. Excelling at hacking accounts, lockpicking, subterfuge, and obfuscation is a bit too fantastical. In the end, Tetsuo got everything he wanted, and the only ramification was a scar on his head. Closing the chapter for spring 2023, we're left off in a much better state than winter that was only defined by inconsistency. Here we had multiple anime dominating, and at the top there wasn't as much disparity in popularity as we sometimes see in a season. Spring anime brought out a lot more conversation amongst the community, for better or worse depending on what side you stand on. I think going into the season, I had a pretty decent read on how it would turn out, with the standouts of that being, I didn't expect Heavenly Delusion to be so popular, and Eden Zero and Kizuno no Allel didn't come close to being popular. Everyone that's here at the end of the video, I want you to know you're my new favorite viewer, and I don't say that to just anyone. I still have more thoughts I'd like to share on Heavenly Delusion and Oshi No Ko. I'm just a bit anxious to do it after the Hell's Paradise video didn't perform as well as I'd have liked it to, so if you'd like to see me do a deep dive on either of these two anime, let me know in the comments. Moving forward for the endings to a season, I'm going to stick with this format. I think that this has been a pretty successful trial period for this change. It lets me be a lot more loose with my takes on an anime, and I don't have to put them into a box just to check it off for the award. My main goal with the award videos was to get experience with the style so I could do a yearly one. However, I found that when I got ready to do the yearly video for 2022, I was just reiterating a lot of opinions I'd already stated, and that wouldn't be interesting for the viewer to hear again. Thank you for watching the video, and don't forget to support it by liking it.